Yes, students. So we are started our lecture number 17, that is critical speed of shaft with damping and some numerical on that. So this is the last lecture of your unit number 2, that is single degree of freedom system forced vibration. So this is the last lecture of unit number 2. After this, we are going to complete our unit number 2. So our today's lecture topic, that is nothing but the critical speed of shaft having single rotor and condition is with damping. In last lecture we have seen critical speed of shaft with single rotor without damping. Now in today's lecture we are going to see the critical speed of shaft with single rotor with a damping. So consider a vertical rotating shaft having negligible inertia and which carries a single rotor having mass m as shown in figure. So there is a single rotor and having mass m as shown in figure. Then all the shaft supported in the bearing will have some amount of damping due to friction. Because of friction or because of air resistance, there will be some amount of damping, and that damping will be present. And if we consider this effect of damping in the form of, say, friction because of bearing and in the form of air resistance also. So if we consider the effect of damping, then analysis of critical speed of shaft is slightly different. So we are going to see the analysis of critical speed of shaft in the damping condition. So there is a figure which consists of a shaft. Now this condition, it is in rotating condition. So this is a shaft. Now this is, we know that this is the geometric center, that is S of a shaft, geometric center of a rotor. Then this is your O point, that is center of rotation, yes, and your G is this, that is gravitational. Now in last lecture there is no damping, then your G lies on this point, but in this case there is G is lies on this point. Now between O to S, that is original center of rotation to the geometric center, it is the deflection Y. Then eccentricity is geometric center and center of gravity, it is your eccentricity. So this is Y, this is E. So if we complete this triangle, so if we, this distance between O and G, it is denoted by A. So this Y is your deflection, E is your eccentricity, and A is the distance between O and G, that is axis of rotation or center of intersection of bearing and this center of gravity. Now if you take only this triangle, so the triangle consists of O point, S point and G point. Now in that, E is your eccentricity, that is the distance between S and G. So this is the E, that is eccentricity, it is the distance between S and G. Similarly, between O and G, the distance is A. A is your distance. Now, at centrifugal force point, there will be a, at center of gravity point G, there will be a centrifugal force. Now distance is A, so m omega square A. It is your force which is acting in this direction. So this is the direction. Now let this angle be the psi. So this is same angle with horizontal is the psi. So if we distribute these two components, so first component is m omega square cos psi and this is your sine psi. This vertical component is your sine psi and horizontal component is your m omega square a cos psi. Now, similarly, this angle is psi, so we will take this angle as phi. Both angle are different, so we are taking this angle as phi. Now we know that this spring force is ky, so this ky having direction like this, so this is ky, and this is m omega square a. This is the centrifugal force. Now again, if we distribute this ky, now there is again a important, because of damper there is another force, that is damping force. It is c omega y, which is lies on this vertically downward direction. So c omega y, and this is your deflection y from O to S. So this is the force acting on shaft in deflection position. So there are three type of force. One is spring force, then another is your centrifugal force, and third one is your damping force. So in displaced position, there are three forces which are acting on the shaft. So first force is the centrifugal force, and magnitude is m omega square a. Now it is acting at point G, and it is along OG, that is along the direction or along the angle of psi. Second, restoring force, or it is also called as spring force. So restoring force is equals to ky. It is acting at a point S along OS. Along OS. Next, damping force, which is denoted by c omega y. So it is acting at point S in the direction opposite to the linear velocity of point S. Opposite to the linear velocity of point S. So S will be moving in upward direction, so it is going in downward direction. Where omega y is the linear velocity. So we know that linear velocity, that is v is nothing but the r omega. Now in that, distance is y, so y omega, it is your linear velocity. So we know that damping force is nothing but the, that is damping force is nothing but the damping coefficient into velocity. So linear velocity is omega y. So that becomes c omega y. Now due to the damping force, the point OSG are not in a straight line. They are on different line. In last lecture, if there is no damping force, then these 3 points, that is O point, S point and G point, are in the straight line. But because of damping force, the point OSG are not in a straight line. So this form a triangle which is shown in figure. So this is the triangle. So this angle is phi. Now this distance is e. So this opposite side, it becomes e sin phi. So this is e sin phi, and this adjacent side becomes e cos phi. And this is your e is your hypotenuse, and this is right angle triangle, and this is angle phi. So this term is e sin phi, this term is e cos phi. Similarly, a point, this angle is psi. So if we consider this O, A and this point, another point in this triangle, if we consider, this is again a right angle triangle. So in that, the distance, this is a cos psi. From this point to this, it is a cos psi, and from this point to this point, it is a sin psi. So this distance, it is a sin psi. So from triangle as shown in figure B, we can say that summation of f of x is equals to 0. So if we take the summation of f of x is equals to 0, so there are forces. First force is your ky, and another force is equals to this force. Now these are in opposite direction, so ky is equals to m omega square a cos psi. And if we take a vertical axis force, so it is c omega y is equals to m omega square a sin psi. So taking vertical forces and horizontal forces, so summation of f of x, that is summation of horizontal forces, we get minus ky is plus m omega square a cos psi is equals to 0, or we can say ky is equals to m omega square cos. Now similarly, if we taking vertical, then c minus c omega y, because c omega y it is in downward direction force, so it is taken as minus, and this is in upward direction. Now this direction is left hand and this is right. So minus c omega y plus m omega square a sin psi is equals to 0. Now if we consider these two equations, we have to eliminate this term psi. We have to eliminate this term psi. So from that, it is essential to eliminate these two terms, that is psi and a, from equation number 1 and 2. So for that, we have seen another triangle in terms of psi and phi. So what is that? From that triangle, we know that a sin psi. So what is a sin psi? This is a sin psi. So a sin psi is equals to e sin psi. Both are same. A sin psi is equals to e sin psi. Similarly, a cos psi, that is this term, a cos psi, it is nothing but the y plus e cos phi. This total distance, that is a cos phi, is equal to addition of this distance plus this. So y plus e cos phi. Now, on substituting a cos phi in equation number 1, we have to substitute a cos psi in equation number 1, and we have to substitute a sin psi in equation number 2. So by substituting a cos psi in equation number 1, so we get minus ky plus m omega square. Now what is value of a cos phi? It is y plus e cos phi. So we get minus ky plus, now multiply this m omega into brackets, so we get m omega square y plus m omega square e cos phi is equals to 0. In that again, the y, this term y is constant, so we have taken outside. So this minus ky plus m omega square y goes to this right hand side, so that become plus ky minus m omega square y. So again, y power taking common, so that becomes k minus m omega square. So this is in bracket is equals to m omega square e cos phi. So this is your equation number 3. Similarly, we have to put the value of a sin psi in equation number 2. So what will happen? So we have put equation number 2. So we get minus c omega y plus m omega square. Now a sin psi is equals to e sin phi. So we have put that value. So we get c omega y is equals to m omega square e sin phi. Now this is equation number 4, and in previous we have seen the equation number 3. So dividing equation 4 by equation number 3. So we get, so if we divide equation 4 by 3, so 4 is this, so sin phi divided by cos phi, so that become tan phi, omega square e get cancel. So in bracket मध्ये काय राहिलं, it is c omega into y, upon k minus m omega square into y. Y I get again cancel. So we get c omega upon k m minus omega square. Now again, divide this numerator and denominator by k. So if we divide this numerator and denominator by k, we get numerator term c omega upon k and denominator term is 1 upon m omega square upon k. Now we know that c omega upon k, it is nothing but the 2 zeta omega upon omega. How that will happen? That is c omega upon k. It is nothing but the, we are multiply and divide by c by cc. So c by cc into cc into omega upon k. So c by cc is zeta. Now again, cc is 2 m omega n. So this is value of cc. So this m is numerator. If we goes to denominator, it becomes k by m. K by m. Now k by m is nothing but the omega n square. Omega n square. Now this is omega n square and this is omega n. Cancel. So your remaining term is 2. This value is zeta omega upon omega. Similarly, 1 minus m omega square upon k. Now m omega square upon k, it is nothing but the, this is m omega square upon k. Now m goes to this side. So k by m. So k by m is omega n square. So omega square upon omega n square. So that tan phi becomes 2 zeta omega upon omega n, 1 minus omega upon omega n square. So this is value of tan phi. From that we get the value of phi. So phi is equals to tan inverse of 2 zeta omega upon omega n. Now we know that at resonance, this omega n is equals to omega c. Omega n is equals to omega c. That is critical square. So we get tan inverse of 2 zeta omega upon omega c, 1 minus omega upon omega c square. So this equation number 5, that is phi, it gives the phase angle between eccentricity line and deflection line. Now if we take a triangle, now we know that tan phi is equals to c omega upon k minus m omega square. So tan phi is phi, c omega is opposite side. So this is your opposite side. K minus m omega square, it is your adjacent side. So your hypotenuse is square root of opposite side square plus hypotenuse square. Adjacent side square. So k minus m omega square plus c omega bracket square. Now from that we can find out the sin phi. So what is sin phi? So sin phi is equals to c omega, that is opposite side c omega upon hypotenuse. So c omega upon square root of c omega square plus k minus m omega square whole bracket. Now if we take your equation of c omega, so we know that sin phi, if we consider this equation, so in this equation, so c omega, now sin phi is nothing but what is c omega y upon m omega square. So put that value. So we get c omega y. So sin phi is nothing but the c omega y divided by m omega square. Now this m omega square e divided term goes to this side. So we get c omega y is equals to m omega square e, c omega upon square root of c omega square plus k minus m omega square whole bracket square. So if we take simply y, so this c omega and this c omega gets cancelled. So y is equals to m omega square e upon square root of this. Now we know that this e is constant. So if we have to divide numerator and denominator by k. So if we divide this numerator and denominator by k, so what will happen? So e is common term, so e is separated. Now this m goes to this side, so k by m becomes omega n square. So omega square upon omega n square, it is nothing but the omega upon omega whole brackets. And this term we already know, that is 1 minus m omega square, it is nothing but the 1 minus omega upon omega n square whole bracket square. And c omega upon k is 2 zeta omega upon omega n. So that whole bracket square. So this is the value of y in terms of damping condition. So that is what is value of y. So y is e omega upon omega n square divided by square root of 1 minus omega upon omega n square whole bracket square plus 2 zeta omega upon omega n whole bracket square. We have already know this after division by k. So we already know m omega square upon k. So this is divided by k, it becomes 1. So we already know. And c omega by k, this value we already know. So what is value of m omega square by k? It is omega upon omega n square. And what is value of c omega upon k? It is 2 zeta omega upon omega n square. And similarly k by m becomes omega n square. So this omega square upon omega n square. So that is omega upon omega n square. Now again, at critical speed, this omega n is equals to omega c. Omega n is equals to omega c. So we get y is equals to e omega upon omega c square divided by square root of 1 minus omega upon omega c square whole bracket square plus 2 zeta omega upon omega c whole bracket square. So there are two equations. One is giving the phase angle phi and another is giving the deflection y. So from equation 6, that is deflection equation, which gives the deflection of geometric center of rotor from initial displacement position. This is the value of y. So we are taking one example. So let a disc of mass 5 kg, so m is given 5 kg, is mounted midway between two short bearings 500 mm apart. So length of bearing is given, that is length of the shaft which having a bearing center. So the length of shaft is given where the bearing are mounted. So L is equals to 500 mm, so 0.5 meter. The diameter of shaft is 10 mm, so 10 mm is nothing but the 0.01 meter. The center of gravity of disc is 5 mm away of the geometric center. So that is eccentricity is given 5 mm. So 5 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter. The equivalent viscous damping at center of disc may be taken as 40 Newton second per meter. So it is damping coefficient is given 40 Newton second per meter. If shaft is rotated at 740 rpm, so N is given 740 rpm, find the maximum stress in the shaft and compare it with dead load stress in the shaft. Also determine power requirement to drive the shaft. We have to find out maximum stress. Also we have to find out this maximum stress and compare it with dead load stress, and we have to find out the power requirement. So what is the given data is given? What is the given data given? So first one is mass is given 5 kg, length of shaft, or we can say the length of shaft where bearing is mounted is given 0.5 meter. Diameter is given 10 mm, so 0.01 meter. eccentricity 5 mm, so 5 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter. Then damping coefficient is given C, 40 Newton second per meter. Now speed is given 740 rpm. So from that we can find out the omega, that is 2 pi n upon 60. So we get omega 77.49 radian per second. And assume E, that is modulus of elasticity, is given 200 GPa, that is 200 into 10 raised to 9 Pascal, that is Pascal is nothing other than Newton per meter square. So 200 into 10 raised to 9 Newton per meter square. So first we have to find out the static deflection. For any, we have to find out the static deflection. So we know that static deflection delta is equal to, for simply supported beam, the static deflection is given by WL cube upon 48 EI. WL cube upon 48 EI. So W is, that is weight is nothing but the M into G into L cube upon 48 EI. So M is 5 kg into 9.81 is G. L is 0.5 cube divided by 48. What is value of E? E is 200 into 10 raised to 9 into pi by 64. What is value of D? 0.01 raised to 4. So after calculation, we get the deflection, static deflection. Delta is 1.3010 into 10 raised to minus 3 meter. Now we know that the kg is mg is nothing but the k delta. So from that we can find out the value of k. So k delta is nothing but the mg. So we get k is equals to mg upon delta. So mg upon delta is equals to 5 into 9.81 divided by this delta. So we get the value of k. So the value of k as 37,699.11 Newton meter. This is the k. Now we have find out the value of k and the mass is given. So we can find out the natural frequency, that is omega n. So what is value of omega n? Omega n or omega c, both are same. So we can find out the critical speed. Omega n is equals to omega c is equal to square root of k by m. So square root of 37699.11 divided by 5. So that becomes 86.83 radian per second. So this is critical speed. Next, we have to find out the value of y, that is amplitude of vibration. So for that, there is formula y is equals to. Now for that, we have to find out some other constant, that is omega upon omega c. That ratio is required. So 77 upon 49 divided by 86 upon 86.83. So that ratio is 0.8924. Again, zeta, we have to find out the value of zeta. So for that, the c upon cc. Now c upon, what is value of cc? 2m omega. Now the value of damping coefficient is given 40. So 40 upon 2m omega. So 2 into 5 into 86.83. So after calculation, we get the value of zeta is equals to 0.046. Now we know that the amplitude of vibration is given by. So at critical speed, it is given by y is equals to E omega upon omega c square. This is with the damping. So y is equals to E omega upon omega c square divided by square root of 1 minus omega upon omega c square whole bracket square plus 2 zeta omega upon omega c whole bracket square. So after putting all this value, we get a deflection. So E is 5 into 10 raised to minus 3. Now this ratio is given or calculated. Then again 1 minus this ratio is calculated. 2 into this value zeta is calculated and this ratio is calculated. So after calculating all this term, we get the value of y is equals to 0.018024 meter. So this is the deflection of y in meter. So in mm, we can say in mm the deflection is, we can say in mm. So it is 18 mm approximately. So next we have to find out the dynamic load of y. Now we know that dynamic load FD is equal to square root of ky square into c omega y square. So y into square root of k square plus c omega square. So put all this value. So after we get the value of dynamic load, FD is equals to 679.49 mm. Again, the static load, that is F, is equals to mg. So 5 into 9.8 m, that is 49. So total maximum load, it is nothing but the dynamic load plus weight. So it is 679.48 plus weight 49.04. So that is 728.53. Now this is simply supported beam. So this is maximum force acting on this. So this is F max upon 2. This is F max upon 2. So the maximum bending moment due to maximum load, it is given by maximum force, that is F max by 2 into L by 2. So that is becomes F max L upon 4. So that maximum bending moment is given by 728. It is the maximum force into length 0.5 divided by 4. So that becomes 91.066 Newton meter. And corresponding maximum bending stress. Now bending moment is given. Now what is bending stress? So bending stress is equals to, so sigma b max. So maximum bending stress is equals to m by I. So mb max upon I into d by 2. So that is m into y divided by I. So what is that? Y is nothing but the d by 2. That is vertical distance. That is diameter by 2. So 91.066 divided by pi by 64 into d raised to 4. So this is the moment of inertia or shaft. It is pi by 64 d raised to 4 into d by 2. So that becomes 927.59 Newton per mm square. So this is the bending stress, maximum bending stress acting on the system. Now again we have to find out the static load of the shaft. So static load of the shaft is given by mb is equals to F into L. So static load is nothing but your own load. So F into L upon 4, same. We have taken either maximum load and this is static load. So 49.05 into 5 divided by 5, 12.26. Now again sigma b is equals to mb upon I into d by 2. So 12. So for that, after calculation, so static load becomes, so mb is 12.26 divided by I is pi by 64 d raised to 4. So this is value of d, 0.01 into 0.01 divided by 2. So after calculation we get the bending stress due to only static stress or only due to the static load, it is 124.9 Newton per mm square. And maximum it is, this is minimum bending stress or we can say static load, and it is maximum is 927. Now next we have to find out power requirement. So power requirement, so first we have to find out the torque. So what is torque? Torque is nothing but the this TD, that is damping torque. So it is nothing but the damping force into distance. So damping force is c omega y into distance y. So it is becomes c omega y square. So c is 40, omega is 77.49 into y square. So after calculating we get the damping torque, it is 1.0069 Newton meter. So the power required to overcome this damping torque, it is 2 pi nt upon 60 into 1000. It is in watt. So 2 pi n is 740, torque is 1.069 divided by 60 into 1000. So that value is 78.07 watt. This is the power required to overcome damping torque only. To overcome damping torque. So this is all about the today's lecture, that is the critical speed of shaft when there is damping is considered, or we are considering the damping, and we have seen one example on this. So thank you very much.